Hey everyone, we are live. Dance party. Oh yeah. Oh, and Liz is here. Yay!
Yay, so good to see you all.
Exciting to see you, Liz. Super pumped.
Here.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I think I do this every single time, Bonnie, when we have music.
Yeah, you do. It's like your signature move.
It's like a 90s signature move, you know?
I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing.
Child of the 90s. For
Child
sure.
of the 90s. All right. Oh yeah. Well, I thought that, Move Your Body, See a Song would be a good one for today, since
that's awesome.
we've got Move Your Body Ease Keys and Move Your Body mindfulness practice with you tonight. So
Right.
exciting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm excited for content to jump on. It's great.
I know. Liz, I've been so excited about the workshop this week. And oh my goodness, I just have felt so really honored to be in that space. And it's been so much fun from my side, and just being in there with all the comments. And just been such a fun week so far. So
yeah, and I'm feeling, as those that have been sitting in the workshop know, I've been sitting kind of alongside you, and it's just, I think one thing that's amazing, and I constantly need to be reminded of over and over again, is just how many walk so many similar struggles, for different reasons, but like how it shows up and how many people can relate. And I mean, that's such I don't want anyone to suffer anyone more than I want to, but it is such an uplifting feeling to just, know that we can like learn from each other, grow from each other, support each other, So, and many folks that, and I want to honor those folks too that are watching and don't want to comment or aren't ready to, or, are just soaking information in. That's a huge step too, so
huge.
yeah, and so just taking a moment to honor everyone that's just showing up and doing the work for themselves. It's a lot.
Yeah. Amazing.
A lot.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so happy that you're here today. Tell us a little bit about your last few days, what you've been up to. I love that you.
Oh, yeah. I've been alongside you guys from a little bit of a distance. I'm home today, but I had to race home this morning from a few hours away.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so blessed to spend a little bit of time with family the last few days. My parents have been vaccinated, my brother vaccinated. My sister's family had COVID, and just all the circumstances we were able to kind of see each other really in this kind of close capacity for the first time in what, Bonnie? 11 months.
Yeah.
You're just thinking about that.
I know.
And it happens to coincide with my mother turned 70 earlier this month. So we all got to kind of celebrate and love on her. And it was just a few days. Sunday to this morning, but the amount of just appreciation that we had to be able to do this was huge,
Yeah. Just to be able to be all together. It's so amazing. So amazing. I'm so glad that you had that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for racing back home to be with us today.
Of course.
So awesome that you're here. Yeah. Yep. Awesome.
Hey, Bonnie, I'm just going to plug my headphones in, so if it changes my audio, I'm going to change it, but just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get us started. Thanks, Liz. So today, I'm really excited just to move forward and share more about these ease keys. So the whole premise behind the polyvagal theory and the triune nervous system is that, we have these three different parts of our nervous system. So we have our attend and befriend part of our nervous system that has us really looking for social engagement. Then we have our fight or flight part of our nervous system that, of course, gets activated when we're feeling anxious, right? And then we have another part of our nervous system that is our freeze or appease or float part of our nervous system. So there's these three really distinct parts of our nervous system. And we can't choose what nervous state we land in any moment, right? But we can do things that can bring ease to our nervous system. And so these ease keys that we're going to share with you today are based off of the work of a lot of people doing a lot of research in neuroscience, just breath, postural work right now. Stanley Rosenberg and Stephen Porges both have brilliant books on all of this, the Polybagel Theory. And I was able to go to a training in November, I think. Oh, gosh, that feels like forever ago now. Just about the ease keys and this polyvagal playbook and the polyvagal, nervous system and this triune nervous system. And it's been so powerful because, again, it's a way to work, as Liz says, with our physiology and what's going on to really impact and affect and support our psychology. And it's awesome. It's just awesome. I've been using these practices since I found out about them, and they work. They really, really work. Anytime anxiety comes up for me now, I just view it as a huge opportunity and moment to be like, all right, I'm going to try this new thing on, and like see if it works. And if it does, like, awesome. Then I have something else to share out with everyone. Right. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's the way I look at it. You can hear me, right, Bonnie?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
You're working on this system here.
I know.
Yeah. I love this aspect. And I think as Bonnie and I learn more, I mean, one thing that we just both love is them putting these things into practice and being like, wow, that really worked, or it didn't really work for me, but let's see if it works for somebody else. But, the physiology to psychology thing that Bonnie keeps mentioning or mentioned in the live today, and then again just now, is it's really just we're working with our bodies to affect our minds, right? And Bonnie, you mentioned today, how we're able to change our brain. And it sounds like one of those like, yeah, right. Right? Like, but the science teaches us and shows us, and it's demonstrated over and over again that this is true. And I think this is something that's so amazing about, I really like, even though I've, walked the path of depression and anxiety and still do, I'm still so fascinated by the body and what its capacity and ability is. And I also want to remind folks, that as we kind of stay curious and seek these things, that all these aspects are still really important for us to have. Like, right, there was one comment today that reminded me, and you've said this over and over again, Bonnie, but let's say it over and over and over again. We're not trying to rid ourselves of these things, right? We actually need these aspects of our body. They actually serve us really well. And then there's those times where we get stuck, aspects of our body take over, and we can learn how to work with that aspect, right? But we do need this part of our bodies. It's important and fascinating and impressive that our bodies actually offer these things for us. So then it's just changing the relationship with it, changing and noticing when the difference is, oh, I don't need to hold on to this. Here's those strategies and techniques. So that's where the ease keys comes in. It's where all of the good work that so many of you are doing when showing up and opening that door, or as you said today, cracking the door, Bonnie.
Yeah, I know. I just picture, I can remember my own self being like, okay, like, I see you out there,
Yeah, I like envision process, I envision like one little eye of yours.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know you're out there. Okay. Come in, I can do this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's what it takes, right? Like a little bit at a time. Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah, and I know that, and I think what's great about us popping both in here is folks, even though there's strategies that work, there's certainly strategies that I have used more and different ones that Bonnie's used more. And then ones we both use because we're like, whoa, that one's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And different ones will work for different moments that you're in too, different anxious moments. I also like, the gravity up that, and we'll go through this a little bit more today, but man, I use this all the time. I use it like every 20 minutes when I'm working at my computer because it just feels so good, So again, that's that part of like practice makes progress. And when you practice things, particularly also when you're not in a moment of panic, then you're able to so much more easily access those things when anxiety does arrive at your doorstep, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thanks for being here. Yeah.
I'm so happy to just have some of you new members. And Just know that we do these sessions every week. So after the workshop is over, well, again, I'm calling this our regularly scheduled programming. We'll come back. We do these every Wednesday, and we really try so hard to just listen to you and get feedback and hear like, all right, what are the relevant things, topics, struggles that you're having right now, so we can really speak to them in real time. So it's an honor to be here doing these live sessions.
Yeah, Susan, you made it. That's so awesome. Welcome to your first one. And
enjoy.
I think you're not alone.
Yeah, so good.
Not alone, for sure.
All right, so we'll get started just by, Liz, did you want to take the first one, or do you want me to talk about it?
You start off, Buns.
Okay. All right. So the first ease key that we're going to talk about today is one called set your seat. Set your seat. And if you're in a position, you can stand up. I might not, just because I'm tethered here. But the premise behind this is when you sit down, right? That they describe this a little bit like if you stick your tail feathers out behind you, right? So if I'm already sitting, one thing I do is kind of like, move my butt cheeks out of the way, right? So that I can get to feel those sits bones, right? So those are the bones that are on your bum that you can feel when you sit down, right? And there's 2 points. And setting your seat means really, so sticking out your tail feathers as you're sitting down and really sitting so that you are upright, because what's happening, what this is doing is it's creating spinal alignment, correct spinal alignment for your body, right? So what's happening at the base of your spine down here is also what's happening at the top of your spine up here. And yesterday I talked all about how, again, like we are like this over our phones and on our computers or over our children all the time. And what that does really is it puts this kink right here at the top of your spine. So if you imagine that, then that's also happening at the bottom of your spine. And like a hose that you might kink, right? It cuts off that cerebral spinal fluid, which is running through your spinal cord and has all kinds of uses, right? Like the cerebral spinal fluid brings nutrients up to the brain. It washes the brain. It carries out all the unnecessary waste and toxin from the brain. So it's doing really important stuff, right? And when we're consistently in like a hunched over position and all of us just, over our phones or over our computer, this is a really important practice to help create a spinal alignment and just set your body up for optimal functioning, right? So that's the first kind of one. You can practice it, as you sit down, or again, if you're seated already, just to sort of find those 2 little sits bones. You can really feel them when you're sitting, and just practice sitting upright in this true spinal alignment and just notice how it feels. So go back to kind of, this sort of posture, slumped shoulders forward, go back to this sort of posture. And then just notice how you're feeling here. And then set your seat and come back up to a different posture and just see how different it feels. For me in this position, with my seat set and the spinal alignment, I feel way more alert. I feel way more awake. I feel way more like engaging with the world. And yeah, I can really feel this in a big way. My shoulders relax. I don't have the best posture just in general. And I think honestly, I attribute a lot of that to working with kids, because I'm constantly hunched over kids. Yeah. And so I have to work so hard to put my shoulders back in the ways to just really align my my whole body well. And so I'm particularly aware that this posture feels really good for me. And what it does when we're in this posture also is that it sends those signals to our brain through our nervous system that things are okay. We're cool. We're safe. And then that brings in that parasympathetic part of the nervous system, which helps us to calm down. So even if you're feeling anxious, this is kind of a side note because it's not necessarily about sitting, but if you're feeling anxious and you're in a place where you're standing and you can't sit down, just stepping into kind of a position of power, putting your shoulders down, lifting your chin up a little bit, immediately can shift and change the way that anxiety is presenting in your body.
Yeah.
deep breaths, deep, long breaths. I've practiced that multiple times. It's like stepping into your power position, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I think that also has to do with that spinal alignment of just really being here. We're engaging this social engagement part of our brain, and it sends ease signals to the brain. So that is the first little one.
Bonnie, you brought up so many things I was thinking about. You know, and you'll see as we go through a couple of these, I think we have 5 ease keys for you today, but as you go through these, a few of them are teaching you to facilitate this kind of length to your spine, right? And they, for a lot of the same reasons that you just explained, Bonnie, you know. But you can, as Bonnie just did with you, you know, and Bonnie knows, some listeners know I'm an experiential educator. So I always love teaching through having people do, right? But, you know, the next time your body or your mind, because there is no separation between the body and the mind, right, is either if your mind's feeling slumped or you notice your body's slumped, right? If you notice your body slumped, notice where your mind is at. Right. And if your mind, if you're going through some anxiety, take a moment to notice what your body's doing. Right. Because I bet you they relate. And that's why Bonnie was saying, you know, like if you turn your body in, right, notice where, like, how you begin to feel. Right. And that's what we mean by like facilitating the physiology to affect your psychology, is that even if you just shift your body, your emotions, you're going to feel a little different, right? It works both ways because we can send information both ways, from the body to the mind and the mind to the body.
So amazing.
Yeah. So it's just good to keep that in mind. Like, and like you notice your body and go, oh, and then you can notice your mind. You're like, whoa, that's good.
It's so interesting.
You know,
I'm going to pop this comment up here from Susan. Susan, this is awesome. Liz and I were literally just talking. This is something we're going to talk about today in the gravity up position. And so that's awesome. I love that idea of like, pretending that there's a thread pulling me up by the head to keep the head upright and lungs open. And so we're going to talk a little bit about, our noggins are, you know, heavy, right? And gravity plays so much into that. So love that. That's awesome.
And Susan, you'll hear that a ton from yoga teachers whenever they're talking to you about, I mean, I use it as a yoga teacher. So, and I've heard it from so many other teachers, right? Like they'll talk about, hey, like imagine being pulled up through, and it's to really give the folks an image of like sending your head like towards, you know, towards the sun, towards the moon, whatever time of day it is, you know, unless it's over there, and then don't do that, you know.
That was kind of cool, Liz, with that move we just did.
That's awesome.
So actually,
thanks for sharing.
Maybe we can do that ease key that we.
That's tonight. That's tonight.
Oh yes. Oh good. Okay. I won't say anymore. Awesome. Oh, cool. So Liz, you want to take the next get your organs?
Yeah. Can I go out of order?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Okay. I want to work off of what we were just talking about. That'd be cool.
Yeah. You do you, girl.
You do you. Well, we were just talking about like length of spine. So, and it's not an order, by the way, folks. It's not an order like you have to do any of this in order. You know, these are just different. You know, Bonnie was kind of went through this training, as she mentioned, and was learned some different things. But there's no order to how you need to facilitate working with your body.
Right.
So, you know, Bonnie, well, you introduced in the workshop today, the gravity up, right? So you want to just show that again, and then we can talk about the science behind that.
Yeah. So in yesterday's session, I talked a lot about this. I think it was it?
Yeah, my bad.
I don't know, you guys.
No, you're right. Wait.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
Okay.
Just talking about, again, like that spinal alignment, making sure that our cerebral spinal fluid has the ability to go through and do all of its important work. And so gravity up starts by putting your thumbs out here and then placing I'll do it above my hair. your thumbs behind your head in this position. And then you're just lifting up just a touch, not in a way that's painful or uncomfortable, right? And I was kind of talking about your elbows like little wings out here, right? But just lifting just a touch. And, you have all of these cranial nerves that are attached to the base of your skull back here to a part of your skull called your atlas. So it's just relieving pressure there. It's allowing that cerebral spinal fluid to just really flow in all the ways that it can. Relax your shoulders here, put your little wings out as far as they'll go, and whatever, again, feels good for your body.
Yeah, I can be here. That's okay.
Always doing something that feels good for your body. And a little bit later, we'll talk about the horizon gazing, but Liz and I both like
my other favorite one. Yeah.
So that is gravity up.
Yeah. And so if you think about what Bonnie was just sharing about the spine, right, and like posturing and how right, it's really just facilitating like this length. And we know as anxious people, right, we feel anxiety in the physical body, right? You feel it show up. And this is different for each person, but there are some like common, you'll hear a lot of anxious folk talk about tight jaws, which we'll actually get to, a lot of neck tension, actually tight calves, which stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system. So we like to release our calves because we tend to, as anxious people, like lean into our toes, opposite, lean away, like pull away. So that like exacerbates and intenses our calves, so I can
see that.
Yeah. So we're kind of working through that balance. And that's why when you think about, anyone that practices yoga, it's really about centering the body, right? Centering your stance over your feet. So not like leaning forward to the future or back from away from the present and away into the past, but trying to keep centered, and that's the same thing with what we're talking about, the spine, right? Growing length, and then getting our head to be over our heart and our heart over our pelvis, right?
Right.
There's this thing called forward head posturing, right? So like forward head posture, and like if you turn your head, we're our head's actually supposed to be. We all have it, by the way. It's like 99% of people have it. So, but we can actually work with this, right? Like so, as your head, look, what am I doing? Wait, can you see it? There we go. This, right? And my nieces know, I have a couple of young nieces, and they know when I come over, if they happen to be on their tablet and they see me, they'll go, I know now. Iris knows now, and it's hard to instill in a 5-year-old the why, but I either put the tablet on like a chair or I'll be like, Iris, and then she'll hold it up and she's like, but my arms. And so then I'll, yeah, but you can rest your arms on your legs, or we can put it down on a chair. But anyway, that forward head posturing, for every inch that our head is forward, it's an extra 10 pounds of weight, Bonnie.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you can imagine our neck muscles are like, gosh.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things we're doing are also helping counteract even, just good posture, which then allows that cerebral, like spine fluid to flow. So, from this one you just shared, to setting your seat, we're again lengthening that spine, creating better posture, which is just better all around.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's nuts. And somewhere in here we were going to share, but again, since Susan brought it up, right? Like our head weighs a lot, right? It weighs an average human adult brain, right? It weighs between 8 to 10 pounds. So yeah, that's like a lot of pressure and tension. That's an amazing fact. I had never heard that before.
Every inch. So it's like having my anatomy teacher taught, so it's like having a small, like 7-year-old on your neck, if like all the time, if your head's like here, thinking about 30 to 40 pounds of weight. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So really important to,
that, like, even just knowing that, I have a feeling I'm going to be because I am very much I'm going to really pay attention and be mindful about that.
Yeah. And all of this is going to simply ease, right? It's create ease of tension, which of course helps us with our anxiety, right? That's what we're trying to create, is more ease. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my
I
goodness.
I totally jumped us all around.
Oh
Sorry.
no, it's okay. Yeah, it's great jumping. Great jumping. Well, let's talk about the next one, which is get your organs playing. And yesterday I talked a little bit about this when I was teaching about gravity up, right? And it goes along right along with all of this posture, right? And so when we are hunched over, hunched over, hunched over our phones or our computers or our kiddos or whatever it might be, what happens then is we really depress all of our organs, right? Like literally depress. So when you're in this type of posture, and you can try it, right? Like just kind of really slump down and really feel how this feels in your body, right? It's depressing all of these organs. And what that ends up doing is it sends signals to the brain that are connected to this depression, right? And can actually manifest in emotional depression, which I find like, whew, what? So sometimes if you are, whatever, on your couch or, lounging out and you're kind of just feeling a little funky or whatever it might be, you're having something come up, just take a second and notice what your posture is. And simply by creating this room, so this get your organs playing is by, kind of putting your hands,
It's hard to see.
My computer's up high.
On
So
the ribs.
putting your hands, on your ribs here, and just really moving, in circular motions, back and forth, side to side, front to back, and just creating room here, creating room in your organs, right? Because, if you consider how much of the time that we spend in those postures, those depressive signals are getting sent to our brain a lot, right? And again, that ties straight into the emotional centers in your brain. And so getting into some organ play is what this is called, and you can do this standing, you can do this sitting, you can do it however, again, is comfortable for your body. But I love gravity up for this too, because it just lengthens and gives room to all of these beautiful organs that you have in here, right? And the ease keys are all about, decreasing anxiety and stress, but also just really helping like all of your body systems to function at the most optimal level that they possibly can. So between these strategies and the mindfulness and meditation strategies that Liz offers and the heart math practice that we're doing, like all of these things, we're working towards setting our bodies up for optimal development on all levels. Because remember, when you're doing something, it's not just impacting one part of you, it's supporting all of you, right? On that journey forward. So yeah.
And the way it's doing that, Bonnie mentioned, I think in the live, I'm going to say, I think in the live today,
Right.
is that we are, again, going back to the neuroplasticity of our brains and its capacity to change, right? Like
So
your
good.
brain is changing all of the time. How do you want to change it? Do you want to continue on this path of creating those deeper ruts, as Bonnie explained in the live, where you're constantly, because I've done that and that stinks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what
Oh, I've been there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We both know that stinks. Put it in like medical terms. So instead it's like, hey, guess what? We can change it. Awesome. That's amazing. Yay, our brains. Yay, our bodies. Okay. How do I want, what can I do? And how do I want to change it for more positive, better relationship experiences? Right. And so everything we're doing, right, is going to stimulate, that we teach is going to stimulate that kind of positive relationship response. And so you can come at your anxiety in all the ways that, Bonnie and I teach, through your thoughts, through your body, through your heart, through your feelings. And every time you do, you are sending information to your brain. You are rewiring it every time you choose to show up and try these things. So I think that's awesome as a feeling, right? Because then you come on and you're doing a live with Bonnie, or you come on to this Wednesday, or you go, you leave this and you do a yoga practice or a breathing technique that you've tried, or you're driving as I do. And I go through some anxiety and I use the horizon. Every time you're making that choice, you are sending information and stimulating your brain. So then when you do it, you can have this little celebration moment of yeah, I just did something, and my brain's going. It's like cha-ching in the brain. And that, that I think is empowering to realize like I've made this choice that's going to help me rewire my brain. And you're doing it, right? Like you are the one doing it, right? It's one thing to hear this information. It's another thing to hear it and put it into action, right?
Yeah.
And the more we are training our bodies and brains to naturally respond, you'll just start to do these more and more, realize they feel good, realize they work, and then know like, whoo, my brain's changing for the better.
Yeah.
Right. And it's such a cool, process, right? To take control over that.
Oh yeah, it's so true. And Susan, what you said, I love that. Try to do the string thing from your head, even in the car or when you're lying in bed at night. Yeah, it's so true. I just a quick note about that. My husband and I just got a new bed. We've never had, a bed that moves up and down, and we scored it on like a Craigslist ad and got it for just a great deal. And so, but man, it's been very interesting to be in sort of this like zero gravity position and learn about the posturing even when we sleep and how to support, our nervous system even when we're sleeping. And so, it's so amazing to just consider that even in positions where, we're just lying there asleep, right? That these things are really important also. And on a note of what you were saying, Liz, is that like sleep is where a lot of that connection happens, right? Like we have a lot of learning, and then it's all processed and put together while we sleep, right? So it's another just really important reason to just hold sleep as like a high priority, and why we do a lot of work in talking about sleep in this group as well, because of course we know that as beautiful souls who are experiencing anxiety, that many of us have trouble sleeping also. So
yeah, I think Gemma this morning popped on and was like, I'm struggling with depression and like I haven't slept, and I was like, oh, start there. Right? Like it's really hard to feel positive. And I think it's hard for us to even realize like, why is today so hard? And to go back to the basics of like sleep and food. Right. So
go back to the basics. I know sometimes I feel like, I think more than one person said this, like, it's like the chicken or the egg, that they're kind of feed in and off of each other. Lots of these things. Right. So, so again, it's just an invitation to start somewhere. Just somewhere, just make one tiny small step in some direction, whatever feels good for you, right? Because it's not realistic to think that you would accomplish all of this, overnight, right? So
and I mean, we're still working on it, right? Like I'm still working on it. Like I'm still constantly trying new things that I think feel good. And I think when you choose that somewhere to start, Bonnie, and I think that's so good because it is steps, right? It's what feels good for you. Right. And I try different mindful things each month. I try a monthly different mindful action just to see how it feels for me and if it attaches. And right. Like you have to find the things that feel good for you to try. And I've noticed, like it's a reminder that like if you aren't someone that goes immediately to breath, because I find that for anxious folks, that's very hard, that it's easier to respond to the body, especially in meditation. You're more stimulated by touch. Not all of us, but a lot of us. And so if you, don't regularly think, let me take a breath, do something like, like the gravity up that you can even do the organs playing at work. It's sort of like you can't be in front of people and just like move and shift your ribs a little bit. And what that does, you'll notice that like, as you're choosing to do something, you'll all of a sudden go, you're like, oh, I just took a breath, And so doing one will affect the other, so you don't have to start with breath, even though that's where we really want to get you, A lot of these things will stimulate another positive response.
Yeah, it's so true. I also just popped this comment on here. I'm not sure who this one is because your name didn't pop up, but I love that. Okay, awesome. That dance hold position that changed your overall position. So it's I love that idea. I know, Liz, that you talk about this with yoga, right? Of kind of leading from this heart space, right? Which is similar to pretending like there's a string from the middle of your chest pulling you up, right? And leading from that heart space. And it's true, like, oh, that works so well to just roll your shoulders back and I'm so glad that you had that reminder and then shared it with all of us. It's so amazing. And then someone asked also if there's a good position when you sleep. So zero gravity position is a great position to sleep in. It requires some extra pillows if you don't have a bed that moves all up and down. But really the premise behind it is to have your heart and your knees at about the same level. So if you prop up with your upper body upright a little bit with a couple pillows and then put a couple pillows underneath your knees so that your heart is at a similar level. Like, wish I could show you lying down right now, but I think you understand what I mean. That's a great position. It's also incredibly good for your circulation. I noticed that overnight, an overnight change in my circulation, which is important for lots of things because that's your blood pumping around your body, right? When I sleep just flat in a normal flat bed every morning, I'd wake up and the second I would put my feet on the floor, like they'd kind of, can't really describe the sensation, but just, tingle a little bit and sort of like, I had to like take a second to like, kind of wake them up on the floor. And I knew it was my circulation. It just started happening it's probably been maybe the last year or two. I noticed immediately the next morning, and ever since we've gotten this bed, that does not happen to me anymore. So
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I'm super pumped about that because I know that it's really helping my circulation, right? And good circulation while you're sleeping is amazing because that's when your body is doing so much healing and repairing is while you sleep, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And something I'd say to the sleep is just look at the angle of your head and neck to your body, right? So we, most of us sleep with pillows. I still do, even though like my anatomy teachers and all of our family don't use pillows at all. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really hard. I haven't gotten there. I do use what you call like a contour pillow, where more of my neck is supported and my head goes further back, right? Because I was told by a chiropractor she's like, yeah, you have you have basically like long skinny neck syndrome. And I was like, what? She's like, well, your neck's really long and skinny and really has a hard time holding up a head. And I was like, that sounds ridiculous. But it's true. I would actually wake up and throw my neck out right away. And so I think I need that neck support more than anything, but making sure you're not sleeping. How do I turn here so the cameras, so that you're like, really continuing to work that forward head posture, So if you can try to like, don't go from a thick pillow to nothing.
Right.
Like just maybe a thinner pillow, but make sure the things that need to be supported. And that's where you talk to, a chiropractor if you're having really big issues with the neck like I did. But
I love this note from Kathy too about just, writing horses and body language. And gosh, I'm so fascinated. My sister does a lot of hippotherapy, right? So using horses as a modality for therapy for people. And I can imagine, Kathy, of like how much of that speaks to like, that centered writing and your core and correct posture and breath work. It does. It so does. That's beautiful. I love that. So good.
And I've ridden a horse with bad posture before. It didn't feel good.
Just get in your correct posture. I would love to learn more about that.
Yeah, that would be super fun.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of horseback riding going on in Baltimore, unfortunately.
That's
down the city. Yeah. I never heard the HALT before, Barb. That's awesome. Have you heard that, Bonnie? In the program, they say HALT: hungry, lonely, angry.
Hungry, lonely,
angry, tired.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Barb.
Yeah.
That's cool. That makes sense. Getting to the basics of your physical body or emotional body.
Yeah.
Right. Lonely, angry.
The like hierarchy of needs right there. Right. Yeah. It's so true. And I think you're right. I think sometimes we forget the basics, like when we're feeling funky, right? It's like, oh, I haven't drank any water today. Like your body is made up of 76% of water or right around there. Right. And so, it's just those simple things. It's so important. So
it is. But it's hard to choose them. But, like Bonnie and I know it's like that transition, that choice, of of knowing what's good for you and then making that choice, right? I've definitely gotten stuck, especially during COVID, in my apartment doing work and been like, I could take 5 minutes and walk outside.
Right.
And I love the outdoors, and I'm still sometimes find that, it's hard for me to choose that based on my emotional or physical both state,
So true. Yeah, absolutely.
So we acknowledge that.
Yeah.
What other ease keys?
Ooh, so we have find your
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
And your jaw. Yep. Yeah. So do you want me to talk about it a little bit first, Liz?
Why don't you start, and then I'll fill in with the mindful aspect.
Awesome. So find your is all about releasing your jaw. Just like this. I actually like to tend to pull my fingers down too. So you can really kind of feel that separation when your jaw is really loose. For many of us beautiful souls who experience anxiety, we carry a lot of tension in our jaws. We're clenching our teeth all the time. And while we're sleeping, I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Oh man. So I find, that I'm actively working during the day to find my because I've learned that if you really actively work towards that during your waking hours, that it will help your jaw to relax also while you're sleeping. So just a total side note. But releasing your jaw helps to support your breath, and it helps to support digestion, and it helps your auditory senses as well. And your jaw is also directly tied to your limbic system, which is the part of your brain in your midbrain, mammal brain, your emotional centers of your brain that are in charge of your fight flight response. So you have your amygdala and your hippocampus are two parts of that midbrain, that limbic system. And your amygdala is what gets you all ramped up, right? Kind of creates that panic response. And then your hippocampus is what comes in to really bring you back down, right? And your jaw is directly tied to that exact part of your brain. So really working to just release your jaw. So if you're having a moment of anxiety, it's very likely that you are clenching your jaw. And just this one practice. And so yawning, like when I did this training, they were like, we love yawning. Yawning is not a sign of oh, I'm bored. It's like,
no, we need something. Yeah.
Yeah. Like relaxing and just bringing in calm. Again, this is all working to send signals of ease to your brain that everything's cool. We are safe. Whew, right. And yeah, it's amazing how different things that we can do with our body can really impact our emotions on such a deep level. And again, why it's so cool to be alive right now when we have all of this research and science that backs this, that backs things that maybe we feel, on an intuitive level, but now we have the science behind it. I love that. I just love that. So,
Bonnie, you and I both talk so much about how, it's just, it's amazing that science supports what we already are feeling. We're like, oh, I feel this. Oh, there's science that tells me why I feel this.
So good. Yeah.
Right. And love just to go off what you shared. Yeah, I don't know if folks know, but there's worry, there's anxiety, there's stress, and sometimes they're definitely correlated, but we kind of mix them up. But if you think about worry, that kind of comes from your prefrontal lobes, right? So this part of your brain, and which is really tied to your thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. And then stress really comes from kind of your brain stem or your reptilian part of your brain. Right. And that's really tied to the body, and anxiety exists in that middle section. And that's where really anxiety is the intersection of the thinking part of the brain and the biological response. So that's why we need to work with both thought and the body to really work with our anxiety, support our anxiety. Yeah. And I don't think we've mentioned that before. So that's kind of,
so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so the there's a little activity we can do, Bonnie. Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Maybe this can be our little mindfulness practice for.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. All right. Today. So let's take 3 fingers, okay, and just so you're gonna find a space right in front of your ears, and if you open your jaw, you'll feel a little indentation. Right? Don't press too hard. Don't be like, where's that thing? Just allow your jaw to open and close. You can even do this with your eyes closed, right? and then just find a little bit of an indentation. And we're going to release our jaws a little bit here, okay? And knowing that our jaws, like the muscles inside our jaw and mouth area, is the strongest muscles in our body, okay? So their ability to hold tension is pretty grand. So 3 fingers here, and you could even open and close your jaw and begin to feel a little bit of tension release as you put a little bit of pressure here. And don't forget to breathe, or you might be invited to
like,
breathe.
it's making me yawn like every time I open my mouth doing this.
Oh gosh, that already feels so good. And it might feel tight on one side more than the other. It won't necessarily be the same. Just like if you've ever practiced body work or yoga, you'll experience different things on different sides of the body. But so I'm going to ask that you keep your teeth separated, but your lips together. It takes some brain work for me to do that in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk to you while I'm doing this, so I won't be able to do that. But as you do, just begin to draw your fingers down the sides of your face, and you might even feel a release. Some people will feel a release. And slowly allow your jaw and lips to, I'm doing this, I shouldn't be talking, a jaw and your lips to fall open, right? So a little bit of pressure on an inhale. I should have mentioned the breath. And then exhale, slowly drag them down and allow then your jaw to open, keeping your teeth always apart. It'll look ridiculous, but it should feel really good. Let's do it once more. Inhale, find that little pressure. Exhale, slowly draw down along your jaw here. Nice. Yeah. And you can do this, of course, whenever you're feeling anxious. And you're not only going to release a lot of an area that like most, including yoga practices, forget about the jaw, right? Mm-hmm. So we can release the jaw, and at the same time, it's going to invite breath. It's going to invite more oxygen, just like we do when we yawn. Gotcha.
I know, it's like it's happening.
Yeah,
it's all happening.
Yeah.
Wow. It's such a powerful practice. Ooh. Yeah, it feels so good. Yeah, I already feel more relaxed.
Even doing it while talking felt good.
Felt good. Oh wow. Yeah, thanks, Liz. That was amazing. Oh my goodness.
It's a good release.
Yeah.
And then pull your head back away from that forward head posture.
Right, exactly. I know I kind of tend to want to so finding like the middle ground. It's actually, this is kind of neat to sort of like come back too far, not in a painful way, and then like come forward too far, and then just sort of like, find that natural center, right? It feels really nice of having everything aligned.
Yeah. Susan said she can't stop yawning. Oh yeah, the sensation stayed down.
Yeah, you and me both, Susan. Sorry. I yawned through that whole thing. Oh my goodness.
I can't see who wrote the sensation halfway down, but that's where a lot of tension can release right there. It's so good. Yeah. So good. You can even like stop there and just notice. And here's the practice of noticing. And the more and more you practice noticing anything in your body, the more all of these strategies for anxiety are going to completely help you be able to change your brain. So as we get better at noticing, which is why meditation is so powerful, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like we pick up on everything else, right? And that's where change really happens, is that awareness, as Bonnie's already mentioned. So notice, like, is it tighter on one side? And we'll play with this a little bit tonight in our mindful session.
So excited for that, Liz. I cannot wait. So our last ease key for today, there's lots more, and Liz is going to show us one later tonight, which I'm really excited about. And I think it seems like good timing, Liz, for us to revisit these. So maybe next week we'll just continue through the list. But this next one is horizon gazing. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday. This is one of Liz's favorites. She uses this all the time. But so what it's doing, we are very typically focused right here, right? At things that are pretty close to our face. So horizon gazing, where you look up, right? And you can even kind of put your hands out to the sides, just like this, kind of in your peripheral vision. And look, at something. I'm of course in my room, but look at something that's at least 20 feet away, and or like horizon if you're outside, right? And just start to notice how this is feeling in your body. And what's going on here when you're doing this horizon gazing is that it's activating the part of your nervous system, your attend and befriend part of your nervous system, your social engagement part of your nervous system, right? And that relational state. And so oftentimes when we're in moments of anxiety, we're so tunnel visioned, right? And just horizon gazing opens us up to this other part of our nervous system, right? Sends signals to our brain of safety, comfort, ease, just by lifting our head and looking out at the horizon, right? Just as a caveat, if you are ever, having an anxious moment and it's because of like actual safety, and you're ever in a position where you are feeling unsafe in any way, or, relational or whatever it might be, please reach out. I said that earlier today, but I really mean that. You deserve to feel safe. So I always just like to say that out loud, because there are times when anxiety comes up for very, very necessary reasons, right? With a message about our safety that is urgent, right? Okay. Yeah. So Liz, you use this one all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I remember you telling us a little bit about a story of you were driving the other week and kind of felt a little anxious and did some silly sweetness, little activities in the car with your niece, but also like this horizon gazing. Yeah.
And it really comes back to, folks, we can't think our way to calm. You're going through anxiety. You can't go, okay, let me decide to be calm now, right? And if you can, please let me know your ways.
Right.
But, so a lot of the work we're doing and the journaling, the thinking the body's getting you to do, we're doing in a state of calm, right? Or we need to be doing in a state of calm. And when we're not calm, that's when our body needs to kick in these practices. And so I was in a car with driving my sweet niece. And so I was starting to feel anxiety coming on, and I got even more anxious because now I'm aware I'm in charge of this beautiful human safety,
Right.
And so I started, well, you all know. And so I went right away, though my body has taught itself to go right to my tools, right? And so the two I use a lot is not necessarily in one order or the other. It's just what comes first, horizon gazing and breathing. But I noticed as soon as I look past, past that 20 feet mark, which was easier for me to do safely while driving, right? Because you're looking for it anyway. That invited my breath. And so between those two, I got myself to a place where I then knew I could do something else, right?
Yeah.
And so that I use music a lot. And I think Susan has mentioned some loving the music. I use music a lot. So, and we know that it actually stimulates our brain in a way that's very helpful. So once I got myself calm enough, then I put music on, and then I invited Mira into the music with me. And between those kind of 3 to 4 strategies helped me a ton. But that horizon gazing, there's so many tools you can use without anyone knowing.
Right.
And so if that's ever a fear for people, someone had mentioned how do I do this at work or in front of people, in one of the comments yesterday. And there's a lot of strategies we can do that people have no clue. Lots of breathing techniques, lots of a lot of this they would have no sense, and they can really work, right? And just even opening up your periphery, like what you just did, Bonnie, in your room, but opening up the sides and realizing how large your vision and gaze is, it's very calming.
Yeah, it's so true. Yep. Oh, I'm loving these comments coming through. Yay. And Trish, it makes your bottom lip and jaw feel bigger. Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and it helps with vertigo. Ooh, yes.
Who's going to the mountains today? I'm envious. You guys might not know this about me. Mountains are my favorite thing.
Yes, you love it. Aw. Well, we're so happy to be here with all of you. Thanks so much for joining us. And next week, again, we're back to our regular schedule after next Tuesday. I think I have sessions planned out for us for the workshop through Tuesday. So yeah, join us next Wednesday at the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, again, we are always wanting to show up and serve you and be supportive in ways that are going to be relevant for your lives in this moment. So feel free always to send us messages or comment or let us know like, hey, I'd really love to learn more about this thing that you were talking about or whatever it is, so that we can, yeah, just continue to make this space incredibly relevant to everything that people are experiencing right now, right? So honored to be here with all of you. Really excited to see some of you hopefully later this afternoon, evening. And again, if that is when you are sleeping, because it definitely is for some of you.
Sleep.
Then sleep, yes. And yeah, then it'll be such a beautiful practice to wake up to in the morning. Yeah. So we will see you all a little bit later, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time and 6:30 Eastern Standard Time for Liz's mindful movement practice today. And Liz, is there anything that these friends would need to know to just prepare for that?
Yeah, I would say just come comfortable. You know, as much with an open mind as you can. We'll work on that. But just come comfortable, and with, you know, something that you can sit on that's somewhat sturdy. So if you have a good solid floor, that's fine. Carpeted or not, that's fine. You know, I will be on my yoga mat, but you don't have to have a yoga mat to do any of this. So, but maybe just not on like a soft surface, like a bed, you know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and just come in comfortable clothing.
Okay, awesome.
Maybe some water if you'd like.
Oh, awesome, Liz. So exciting. Thank you all so much for being here. We love just having you. We're really honored to be in this space. And yeah, we will see you again soon.
That's right.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Have a lovely rest of your day.
Love
Bye.
sparkles.
That's right.